CEO freaks out as the system crashes, but the cleaning lady's son reveals a trembling secret. The grand headquarters of tech titans was in chaos. Panic echoed through the shiny glass walls as alarms blared like wailing banshees. Samantha Lee, the iron-willed CEO, stood at the helm, her heart pounding against her chest like a caged animal. Was this truly happening? A catastrophic system crash? The room felt suffocating. Everyone's faces blurred into a sea of anxiety, wild eyes, trembling lips. The boardroom buzzed with whispers, fragmented reports, and desperate glances. The air crackled with unspoken fear. Samantha, usually the picture of resolve, felt her facade beginning to crack. "This is unacceptable," she snapped, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to sound authoritative. She could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders, a lump forming in her throat. "Who knew the stakes were so high? Get the tech teams in here," she barked, her fingers fidgeting. The thought of losing everything she'd built gnawed at her insides. The shelves of achievements, years of ambition and sweat, were teetering on the edge of oblivion. Outside, the media vultures circled, hungry for a taste of a scandal. Suddenly, in the back of the room, a timid voice broke through the tumult. It was Rosa, the cleaning lady, pushing her cart filled with rags and cleaning supplies. No one ever paid her much mind in this world of suits and spreadsheets. But today, she stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "You might want to listen, Ms. Lee." Samantha turned, irritation bubbling at the edge of her patience. "Now is not the time, Rosa." But Rosa's son, Miguel, stood beside her, eyes bright and serious. "I know why this is happening. There's a faction. Underground. They've been sabotaging everything from the inside." Samantha raised an eyebrow, skeptical yet intrigued. The boardroom fell silent, all attention suddenly focused on the unlikely pair. "What do you mean?" Samantha asked, her tone softening. "This had to be a joke, right?" Miguel took a deep breath, the weight of the moment visible on his young face. "I overheard things. Discussions about leaks, about data corruption. They aim to take you down." The tension in the room thickened. The board exchanged glances. Uncertainty etched across their expressions. Could this be true? The whispers of sabotage felt too surreal, like something out of a movie. "What's your proof?" one board member challenged, disbelief heavy in his voice. "I can show you," Miguel insisted, his conviction palpable, like a pulse quickening in the silence. Samantha's mind raced. This was insane. Yet as doubt swirled, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Could this teenage boy really hold the key to her survival? The clock was ticking. Every second felt like an eternity. The walls seemed to close in. Samantha shivered at the thought of losing it all. Dark memories of past decisions, those who had been overlooked, haunted her. It's strange how the world could flip in an instant. "Where do we start?" she finally asked, stealing a glance at Rosa, who nodded encouragingly. The stakes were sky high. Secrets tangled like a web. Loyalties shifted like sand. With the board's skepticism surrounding her, could Samantha trust a cleaning lady and her son to help her reclaim a narrative slipping from her grasp? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without any notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're... I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're here, hit that powerful like button. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching? I love getting to know every incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Samantha nodded, a flicker of determination igniting in her chest. Let's hear what you have, Miguel, she said, steadying her breath. The board shifted, still skeptical but intrigued. Around them, the air crackled with tension. Miguel stepped forward. Follow me, he beckoned for them, to break from the chaos swirling inside the room. Samantha hesitated, but the desperation gnawed at her. She motioned for the board members to follow. As they stepped out into the dimly lit hallway, the alarm still screamed like angry bees. Rosa trailed closely behind, clutching her cleaning cart as if it were a lifeline. "What are we looking for?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise. Miguel glanced back, eyes wide and alert. "There's a room. An old server room that no one uses anymore," he explained, urgency racing through his words. "They've set up operations in there. I can feel it. I swear it's where they've been hiding everything." The group hurried through the winding hallways, the click of heels echoing sharply against the marble floor. A sudden jolt of fear crept into Samantha's gut. Was she really trusting a cleaning lady's son? But nothing made sense anymore. When they reached the unmarked door tucked away in a corner, Miguel stopped. He turned to Samantha, his voice trembling. "Are you ready? Once we go in, there's no turning back." Samantha's heart thudded. "Just open the door!" Miguel pushed it open, revealing a dusty, cramped space filled with old servers and cables scattered like forgotten relics. "It's in here!" he insisted, peering past the equipment. Then, without warning, he moved deeper into the room. Samantha and the board members trailed cautiously behind. They crossed damp floors, the smell of mildew hanging in the air. Suddenly, boom! A deafening explosion rocked the building. Glass shattered. The walls shuddered. Everyone screamed. Scrambling to find cover, Samantha felt herself thrown against the wall, fear coursing through her veins. "Get down!" she screamed, struggling to regain her footing. A thick cloud of smoke filled the room, stinging her eyes. In the chaos, through the haze, something glimmered amid the wreckage. It caught Samantha's eye. With her heart racing, she leaned toward it, grasping the cold metal of an old drive. She turned it over, barely able to see through the smoke. "What is this?" she mumbled, mind spinning. As they staggered to their feet, Miguel's face turned from determination to horror. That's not just any drive. It's... "What?" Samantha shouted over the ringing in her ears. Suddenly, Rosa stepped forward, her gaze intense, teeth clenched. "That drive holds everything, all the secrets, including about you, Samantha, your past. It's connected to this." The words settled like stones in Samantha's stomach. She felt the room close in, shock cracking through her defenses. "What do you mean?" She stared at Rosa, utterly bewildered. Miguel's eyes darted between them, confusion evident. "Mum, you can't mean—" Rosa interrupted, her voice steady. "It's time for the truth." The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. The board watched with wide eyes, tension spiraling around them. Secrets, lies, betrayal. The drive in Samantha's hand pulsed with potential chaos. Just then, another loud crash echoed from the hallway. The ground shook, sending a wave of panic through the group. "We need to go!" someone yelled. But Samantha stood frozen, clutching the drive, breath ragged. Her life, her decisions, everything she thought she knew, dangled in the balance. Was this the end, or a new beginning? The thoughts spiraled as chaos erupted anew, leaving everyone gasping for answers in the midst of despair. The room was chaos. Alarms blared in a dizzying symphony of panic. Samantha held the drive tightly, anxiety choking her breath. The smoke hung heavy like a shroud, quivering around them. She could feel the world narrowing in, inching closer with each heartbeat. "Mum, we need to move," Miguel urged, his voice slicing through the uncertainty. But Samantha stood frozen, wrestling with the sudden weight of the drive. What secrets lay buried inside? As if on cue, Rosa stepped in front of her, eyes fierce yet vulnerable. "That drive? It's been tracking everything, Samantha," Rosa murmured, voice low. "Every transaction, every backdoor deal. It has something about you, your past." "What do you mean?" Samantha stammered, confusion firing through her like shards of glass. Suddenly, before Rosa could respond, the door swung open with a deafening crash. The chilling sound of boots thundering echoed in, a battalion storming the room. Dressed in dark uniforms, they poured in, weapons drawn. "Get down!" someone shouted, and instincts kicked in. Everyone ducked, chaos erupting anew. The board members scrambled to the ground, while Miguel yanked his mother away from the chaos. Samantha felt herself thrust against the wall, the drive crackling against her skin. "What's happening?" she shouted, her heart racing. "This was part of the plan," one of the armed men barked, his eyes sweeping the room. "They're coming for you, Miss Lee, and if you don't surrender that drive, we'll make sure this building becomes your tomb." Samantha's heart sank. How could this be happening? The whispers of sabotage now turned into a full-blown onslaught. The world tilted on its axis, pressures colliding. Her company was crumbling, and now her life was on the line. "Miss Lee!" one of the board members shouted, panic straining his voice. "What do we do?" In that moment, everything clicked. The memories flooded back. An intern from years ago. Late nights spent trying to keep the glass tower running. But this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about the very foundations of trust and betrayal. They had underestimated the whispers, the quiet threats under the surface. "Everyone, stay back! I need to speak!" she yelled, stepping forward, shaking but defiant. The gunman hesitated, and a moment of stillness descended. "What can you offer?" one demanded, suspicion thick in the air. Samantha blinked, recalling fragments. The quiet meetings, the shadows behind allies. Something lurked in the depths of her memories, still out of reach. She felt the pulse of the drive between her fingers, alive, throbbing with uncertainty. "You think you can take me down for just a drive? Don't play coy, Samantha," the man snapped, advancing a step. We know more about you than you can imagine. Surrender the drive or what? She countered, surprise igniting her resolve. Then she felt it, a glimmer of revelation in Rosa's gaze. It transformed everything. Rosa, what don't I know? The room plunged into silence. The tension thickened as eyes shifted nervously. No one spoke. The stark realizations hanging like a sword above their heads. Suddenly, a burst from the far end of the hallway. Then blinding light filled the room. "Everyone down!" a distinct voice yelled, cutting through the chaos like a knife. Then the unexpected happened. A group of agents clad in tactical gear flooded in from the opposite side, confidently moving through the disarray like war horses. "We're here for the drive! We're here to protect Miss Lee!" Shock washed over everyone. Samantha's heart dropped. Protect her? Who had sent them? All eyes turned to her, questions spinning wildly. Divisions formed, and alliances shattered. The panic-tinged air around them shifted, uncertain and dangerous. The drive shook in her hand, filled with lies, truths, and hidden agendas. What had she really gotten into? With everything unraveling, the stakes stacked higher than she could swallow, she realized this was only just the beginning. The glimmering truth would bring everything crashing down or raise it to new heights. Samantha gripped the drive tighter, her mind racing. Would she be able to sort friend from foe? Her life depended on it. The hidden threads of deception awaited, firm and waiting, and she was ready to unravel it all. The room was chaos. Alarms blared in a dizzying symphony of panic. Samantha held the drive tightly, anxiety choking her breath. The smoke hung heavy like a shroud, quivering around them. She could feel the world narrowing in, inching closer with each heartbeat. "Mum, we need to move," Miguel urged, his voice slicing through the uncertainty. But Samantha stood frozen, wrestling with the sudden weight of the drive. What secrets lay buried inside? As if on cue, Rosa stepped in front of her, eyes fierce yet vulnerable. "That drive, it's been tracking everything, Samantha," Rosa murmured, voice low. "Every transaction, every backdoor deal, it has something about you. Your past." "What do you mean?" Samantha stammered, confusion firing through her like shards of glass. Suddenly, before Rosa could respond, the door swung open with a deafening crash. The chilling sound of boots thundering echoed in, a battalion storming the room. Dressed in dark uniforms, they poured in, weapons drawn. "Get down!" someone shouted, and instincts kicked in. Everyone ducked, chaos erupting anew. The board members scrambled to the ground, while Miguel yanked his mother away from the chaos. Samantha felt herself thrust against the wall, the drive crackling against her skin. "What's happening?" she shouted, her heart racing. "This was part of the plan!" one of the armed men barked, his eyes sweeping the room. "They're coming for you! Miss Lee, if you don't surrender that drive, we'll make sure this building becomes your tomb!" Samantha's heart sank. The whispers of sabotage now turned into a full-blown onslaught. The world tilted on its axis, pressures colliding. Her company was crumbling, and now her life was on the line. "Miss Lee!" one of the board members shouted, panic straining his voice. What do we do? In that moment, everything clicked. The memories flooded back. An intern from years ago. Late nights spent trying to keep the glass tower running. But this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about the very foundations of trust and betrayal. They had underestimated the whispers, the quiet threats under the surface. "Everyone stay back! I need to speak!" she yelled, stepping forward, shaking but defiant. The gunman hesitated, and a moment of stillness descended. "What can you offer?" one demanded, suspicion thick in the air. Samantha blinked, recalling fragments. The quiet meetings, the shadows behind allies. Something lurked in the depths of her memories, still out of reach. She felt the pulse of the drive between her fingers, alive, throbbing with uncertainty. "You think you can take me down for just a drive?" "Don't play coy, Samantha," the man snapped, advancing a step. "We know more about you than you can imagine. Surrender the drive, or what?" She countered, surprise igniting her resolve. Then she felt it, a glimmer of revelation in Rosa's gaze. It transformed everything. "Rosa, what don't I know?" The room plunged into silence. The tension thickened as eyes shifted nervously. No one spoke, the stark realizations hanging like a sword above their heads. Suddenly, a burst from the far end of the hallway. Then blinding light filled the room. "Everyone down!" a distinct voice yelled, cutting through the chaos like a knife. Then the unexpected happened. A group of agents, clad in tactical gear, flooded in from the opposite side, confidently moving through the disarray like war horses. "We're here for the drive! We're here to protect Ms. Lee!" Shock washed over everyone. Samantha's heart dropped. Protect her? Who had sent them? All eyes turned to her, questions spinning wildly. Divisions formed, alliances shattered. The panic-tinged air around them shifted, uncertain and dangerous. The drive shook in her hand, filled with lies, truths, and hidden agendas. "Release them!" shouted the leader of the new group, glaring at the armed men. But instead of surrendering, one of them stepped forward, unafraid. "We can't let you take it. You don't know the truth." "Truth?" Samantha exclaimed, a thin edge of fear creeping in. "What truth?" The armed man turned towards her. Smirk cutting across his face. "You think this is just about a drive? It's not! You're not who you think you are, Samantha." The air stilled. Everyone froze. The implications hung like lead. What did he mean? Your past runs deeper than files or transactions. You're connected to a web of power. We've been waiting for you to uncover it, he continued, eyes gleaming like daggers. Samantha's heart raced, confusion surging. "What are you talking about?" A voice began to cry out from the shadows. "Samantha, it's time you learn the truth." Stepping forward was a figure she recognized. A face she thought long gone. "Dad?" she gasped. Shockwaves rippled through the room. The old memories shattered, driving reality into chaos. Everything she'd known morphed again. The drive, her identity, the secrets, all tangled in a direction she never expected. But it didn't stop there. "I didn't want you to find out this way," he murmured, eyes heavy with unshed tears. Samantha trembled. "You're alive?" "More than you could imagine," he said, voice steady yet hollow, southern skin deep lines etched from years of struggle. Yet she sensed the familiarity. This moment twisted everything. Loyalties, betrayals, the very essence of who she thought she was. As confusion overwhelmed her, Miguel clutched her arm. "Mom, we need to go! They're coming!" But Samantha stood frozen, grappling with the enormity of the truth. The drive in her hand felt electric, her past ripping apart in front of her. Was her father part of this chaos? How many layers of deceit had been woven around her life? And then a terrifying thought crossed her mind. What if everything she built was built on a lie? The ground beneath her shifted, reality bending as she clutched the drive tighter. "Do you know what's really at stake, Samantha?" her father asked. Heart pounding, every option racing through her mind. She realized this was only the beginning. The truths that lay waiting could either save her or completely destroy her. And so she stood, heart hammering on the precipice of her past, unsure of her very identity or the chaos to come. Samantha trembled, heart racing as the truth washed over her like a tidal wave. The room felt alive, pulsing with uncertainty. "You're alive?" she whispered to her father, disbelief cracking her voice. "More than you could imagine," he replied, stepping closer, eyes searching hers. She could see the years etched on his face, each line a story she had never known. All around them, the chaos of the room blurred, as if the world had faded into the background. But then, just as she was about to reach out, the armed men tensed, the air thick with tension. "Enough of this!" one shouted, shifting his weapon to aim. "Step away from the drive, Samantha." "What are you talking about?" Samantha's voice caught in her throat, panic bubbling to the surface. "Who are you?" "This is bigger than all of you," her father said, urgency lacing his tone. "They don't understand what they're dealing with." A loud bang echoed through the hallway. The door flew off its hinges, crashing to the floor. A few agents came barreling into the room, guns at the ready. In a split second, the chaos erupted again. "Get down!" someone yelled, and instinct kicked in. Samantha ducked, pulling Miguel with her. A storm of shouting voices filled the air, a cacophony of fear and confusion vibrating through the walls. Suddenly, her father shouted, "They've been tracking you, Samantha, tracking us. They know about the drive and everything it contains." "What do you mean?" she cried, feeling the ground beneath her shift like quicksand. "The world was spinning out of control. Everything you've built, it's tied to a hidden agenda," he pressed, eyes wild. "When I left, I thought I was protecting you, but they know, and they've orchestrated this whole thing." An explosion of gunfire erupted, sending everyone scrambling for cover. The drive slipped from her fingers, clattering to the floor. She watched in horror as the world she thought she understood shattered into chaos. In the midst of it all, she finally understood. Everyone had lied to her, even her own father. Pain clenched her chest like a vice. "You've known, haven't you?" she screamed, her voice breaking with betrayal. "The truth is complicated." His eyes were pleading. "I tried to keep you safe, but they found me. They're coming for more than just the drive." Suddenly, the power flickered, plunging the room into darkness. People shrieked, panic rising like smoke in the air. Then a blinding light illuminated the room again, but something was different. A figure emerged through the haze. silhouetted against the chaos. It was an agent. But not just any agent. She recognized him instantly. It was someone she thought she had left behind. Someone she never expected to see again. "Daniel," she breathed, mind racing. "What are you doing here?" His eyes bore into hers, filled with desperation mixed with determination. "You're in danger. The agency has turned against you. They want that drive, and they'll do anything to get it." Questions flooded her mind. Daniel had been her mentor, a guiding light in her early years. But now, his sudden entrance felt like lightning in a storm. Would he come to help? Or was he part of the darkness? "Get ready," he shouted, flicking his gaze to the growing chaos. "We need to move now!" "What about my dad?" Samantha's heart raced, torn between the familiar face of her father and the haunting path she had been trying to escape. "I'll explain later," Daniel insisted, urgency thickening the air. "Trust me." But before she could answer, another explosion rocked the building, sending debris crashing down. With no choice left, she seized the drive and pushed forward, cackling with a mad gleam in her eyes, emotions swirling like a tempest. Everyone rushed towards the exits, voices echoing with fear. Yet in the midst of the rush, Samantha glanced back at her father. "You'll explain, right?" His face fell, shadows closing in. "If we survive this—" But the ground shook again, danger looming. Then, in an instant, the lights flickered off, plunging them into darkness once more. With her heartbeat echoing in her ears, she felt a cold grip of uncertainty tighten around her neck. Everything was falling apart, and as the world outside raged, nothing felt certain anymore. Trust felt like a fragile thread ready to snap. And in that moment, the truth hung on a knife's edge. What if Daniel had been playing both sides all along? What if her father, even in this chaotic moment, was a stranger in disguise? This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the very essence of who she was. The room swirled with smoke, deception, and the desperate urge to escape. Samantha's heart pounded, poised on the brink of revelation and disaster. In a world where nothing was as it seemed, how could she be sure of anything anymore? Samantha's heart raced, caught in the crossfire of her father's surprise and the chaos erupting around them. "Dad, why now isn't the time?" He shall. "I can explain later." But before she could speak, another explosion rocked the building. Dust and smoke filled the air again, making it hard to breathe. Through the turmoil, a chilling thought gripped her. What if her father had been lying this entire time? The agent, Daniel, started pulling the group toward an exit. "Stay close," he commanded. "We need to move while we still can." His voice was a lifeline. As they stumbled out into the hallway, the chaos outside roared louder. The sounds of shouting were drowned by the blaring alarms. The walls felt like they were closing in. Samantha clutched the drive tightly, knowing it was the key to her life or death. Just as they reached a staircase, Daniel whirled around and faced her. "Samantha, you need to trust me. This isn't just about the drive, it's about your future." "Wait, my future?" she echoed, confusion knitting her brows. "What are you talking about?" But before Daniel could answer, a figure charged through the smoke. It was one of the armed men. Without warning, he lunged, tackling Daniel to the ground. The gun fell from his hands, skittering across the floor. Get off him! Miguel cried, rushing forward. Samantha felt a surge of panic. No! A shot rang out, echoing off the walls. Time froze. The world spun, each second dragging like a lifetime. This couldn't be happening. And then the man lay still, his eyes blank, staring at nothing. Daniel shoved him off, breathing hard. But when he looked at her, his face was pale. We need to keep moving. Samantha's breath hitched. But he was one of them, Daniel shouted, voice taut. He's not the only one. The agency is infiltrated. We have to get somewhere safe. She felt the weight of that truth crashing down on her. But before she could grasp it, another figure appeared in the haze. This one stepped gingerly, taking a moment to collect herself. As the smoke cleared, Samantha felt her heartbeat quicken with disbelief. It was Laura, her former assistant. Laura? Samantha gasped, voice breaking with disbelief. What are you doing here? Laura's gaze darted around, wide with fear. I was trying to warn you. It's worse than you think. There's a bigger conspiracy. This is all connected. What do you mean connected? Miguel asked, bewildered, glancing between the two. The drive? Laura began, fear lining her voice. It contains not just your secrets, but theirs. They'll stop at nothing to take it from you. Caught in the whirlwind of revelations, Samantha felt a sharp pain in her chest. Why didn't you say something all those years? I didn't know, Laura cried, frustrated. I thought it was just data, but it's about something far more dangerous. You're at the center of it, Samantha. Center of what? Samantha's mind reeled. The ground felt like it was slipping beneath her. Then, out of the shadows, another figure came forward. Chloe, the trusted colleague who had vanished months ago. You need to hear this, she panted, trembling visibly. They're coming for more than just the drive. They want you, because you're the key. Samantha felt the air get sucked out of the room. Key to what? Laura's eyes went wide. The truth runs deeper than you know. Your father, he's been keeping secrets that link you to everything. Another explosion rocked the hallway. Walls shook as the lights flickered ominously. Samantha felt her chest tighten. And before she could process the words, Chloe lunged forward, grabbing her by the arms. Listen, the agency. They're planning to eliminate anyone who stands in their way. You have to come with us. But it was too late. Before anyone could move, the ceiling began to crumble, a deafening roar accompanying the chaos. Dust filled the air, and the hallway before them split apart in a shower of debris. With dizzying speed, a voice pierced through the thunderous noise. You're all too late! A figure emerged from the smoke. This one larger and more imposing, with a chilling smile stretching across his face. It was the head of the agency himself. A man Samantha had never seen, but knew too well from whispers in boardrooms. Everything's in motion, Samantha, he declared, delight dancing in his eyes. And you're about to become a hero in a game you never even signed up for. Panic flooded her veins. What did he mean? And then, just like that, he reached into his coat and pulled out a device, bright and ominous. A countdown began to flash on the screen. "Everything you thought you knew is about to change," he said, laughing maniacally. Samantha felt the ground shift beneath her, and she realized with dawning horror just how precarious her situation had become. Everything was on the brink of collapse. Would the truth about her identity emerge from the chaos? Or would this be her end? The stakes were monumental, and now, more than ever, she needed to unravel everything before it was too late. Samantha's heart raced as she stood frozen, the countdown ticking down like a funeral dirge in the chaos of the room. "You think you've won?" the agency head taunted, his smile growing dangerously wide. "You're just a pawn in a game you don't even understand." "Shut him down!" Daniel shouted, eyes wide with panic. "We can't let him activate that device." But it was too late. The seconds slipped away, and Samantha's mind whirled with confusion. "What do you mean, pawn? What game?" Suddenly, chaos erupted, an ear-splitting explosion tearing through the building from above, shaking the very foundations. Debris fell from the ceiling, sending everyone scrambling. Miguel pulled Rosa down, shielding her as dust filled the air, thick and choking. "Samantha!" Daniel yelled, but she barely heard him. The world collapsed around her. In that moment, she felt time stretch, clocks ticking past as if mocking their urgency. Amidst the dust and cries, something caught her eye. A flash, golden and bright, glistening from beneath the fallen debris near her feet. She stumbled toward it, heart pounding, the chaos fading into the background. Her hand reached out, brushing aside the rubble, revealing a locket. "An old locket?" she whispered. Confusion crashing over her. It didn't make sense. She opened it, her breath catching in her throat. Inside, a picture she recognized. A younger version of her father. But next to him, a woman she had never seen before. The world stopped. "Dad, who is she?" she breathed, lifting the locket higher. Panic and fear swirled like a storm in her chest. He glanced at the locket, eyes widening in horror. "Samantha, wait! You don't understand!" But she wasn't listening. With her finger trembling, she turned the locket. There, instead of a kind smile, was a cold expression, dangerous and calculating. "This is who I am," she demanded, heart pounding. "Part of something I never knew." Suddenly, another commotion broke out behind her. The agency head lunged for the device, eyes blazing with greed. "No!" Daniel shouted, trying to tackle him. But someone else stepped forward, startling everyone. Laura, the assistant who had seemed so loyal, revealed a weapon hidden behind her back. "Move aside! This doesn't concern you." Samantha's heart sank as Laura's eyes met hers. Betrayal washed over her like ice water. "You? Don't act surprised," Laura sneered. "You were just another piece on the board, but now you're the only one who can help me gain what I want." "What do you want?" Miguel shouted, stepping protectively in front of Samantha. The room was unfurling like a dark flower. Laura's grin twisted as she pointed. "The drive! You hand it over, and I can finally end this charade." "Charade?" Daniel challenged, pushing himself back to his feet, ready to protect. "You've been playing both sides too." "Enough!" Laura screamed. "This was never about you, Samantha. This was about power! You've only scratched the surface of what you're tied into." Her words hit like a brick. Samantha felt the weight of every secret crashing down. She was at the center of something horrific. The drive wasn't just a link to past mistakes. It was a doorway to unimaginable control. But just as all seemed lost, the agency head shouted in sudden panic, "What are you doing? Don't activate it!" Time slowed again. Laura was twisting the device, finger hovering over the button. "I'll burn this place to the ground if I have to, and take you all with me!" "Stop!" Samantha yelled, raw fear fueling her voice. "You don't have to do this!" Laura's face shifted just for a moment, vulnerability flashing through her hard exterior. "You don't know the game we're playing." But then, everything exploded in a shocking moment. An echoing blast and a blinding light enveloped the room. In the midst of the chaos, Samantha locked eyes with her father, his face a mask of regret. "It's not over yet!" he cried, but his words drowned in confusion and noise. The explosion, the cries, the truth, it all merged into a chaotic whirlwind of fear. And as the dust settled, Samantha felt her knees go weak. Everything and everyone spun around her. In that moment, the locket slipped from her fingers, clattering against the floor, a forgotten weight in a world turned upside down. Samantha gasped for breath, realizing with a cold tremble that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't about the drive at all. Maybe it was always about her and the choices she had yet to make. But what would she choose? As everything she thought she knew hung in the balance, one question fired in her mind. Was it too late to turn back? Samantha gasped for breath, her fingers still gripping the locket as if it were a lifeline. Chaos enveloped her, voices shouting. The faint smell of smoke filling her nostrils. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a frantic drum. She blinked, trying to make sense of the reality unraveling before her. Laura's words echoed in her mind, piercing through the noise. "You're just another piece on the board." Betrayal tasted bitter in her mouth. How had she been so blind? "Dad, what secrets are you hiding?" she pressed, voice trembling. "What's all this about?" But her father only shook his head, eyes filled with despair. "It's more complicated than you think. I wanted to protect you, but—" "Protect me from what?" she interrupted, panic flooding her voice. "From the truth?" The agency head laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Truth? You want truth? You're living a lie, Samantha, and it's going to cost you more than just the drive." The room felt like it was closing in on her. The countdown continued, growing louder, each second weighing on her like a heavy blanket. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, waiting for her next move. The tension was suffocating. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then plunged into darkness. A collective gasp filled the room. "Get down!" someone yelled. Samantha dropped low, instinct kicking in as the ground shook beneath her. With flashes of light breaking through, she saw shadows moving, figures blending and swirling in the chaos. "Stay close!" Daniel shouted, trying to form a protective barrier around them. Amidst the swirling darkness, a shrill sound pierced through. A scream mingled with the crack of gunfire. It echoed startlingly close, sending shivers down her spine. Fear clenched her gut. Everything felt surreal, like a nightmare spiraling out of control. Then a bright flash illuminated the room once more. It was blinding. And in that brief moment, a figure emerged from the smoke. But it wasn't someone she expected. It was Miguel, his eyes wide with terror as he shouted, "Mom, look out!" In a split second, everything shifted. A deafening explosion erupted right in front of them. The force knocked her back, throwing her against the wall as dust and debris filled the air like a swirling cloud of despair. Samantha gasped, trying to shake the shock from her limbs. She gasped for air. Shouting voices blended into a cacophony as she pushed herself up, disoriented. And then she saw it, in the chaos of the aftermath, a small red light blinking ominously on Laura's device, the one meant to destroy everything. "Laura!" Samantha screamed. "What have you done?" In that instant, Laura's expression morphed into something wild, desperate. "You think you can just walk away? You're in this as deep as I am." The reality hit hard. Laura wasn't just an assistant. She was a part of the plan. Betrayal twisted through Samantha's chest like a knife. "You sold me out." But Laura rushed forward, shaking her head. "No, don't understand. I am you. I'm your other half, your shadow." "What?" The words sliced through the darkness, sharp and jarring. "What does that even mean?" Panic surged. But before Laura could respond, a hush fell over the chaos. The kind of hush that warns you something's coming. The room held its breath. Suddenly, a hidden door behind the agency head burst open with a resounding crash. Out stepped a figure draped in shadow, face obscured. "Enough of this charade," they shouted. As the crowd gasped, recognition hit Samantha like a freight train. The figure was someone she'd thought lost, someone she never expected to see again. "Sammy!" the figure said, voice filled with warmth and authority. Samantha stumbled back, eyes wide. "No, it can't be." Her heart dropped. Was it truly? The truth that had been running beneath everything surged forward like a tidal wave. Secrets, choices, relationships. The very ground beneath her now felt like quicksand. In that moment of revelation, she realized everything she knew was a carefully constructed facade. Would she unravel it all? Or would it consume her? As the dust cleared, one question loomed in the air, heavy and charged. What did this new arrival mean for her future? Samantha felt her heart race, caught in the whirlwind of astonishment. "No, it can't be you," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure was undeniably familiar, like a ghost from her past, rising from the ashes. "Yes, darling, it's me," the figure said softly, stepping into the light. Her mother. The woman she had thought was gone forever. Shock sent a shiver down Samantha's spine, freezing her in place. "I thought you were dead." "I had to protect you, Sam. This was all happening long before you were ever born," her mother replied, urgency creeping into her voice. "They know everything, and I'm here to warn you." A gasp rippled through the room. The agency head's icy demeanor shifted, surprise flashing across his face. "You shouldn't have come back," he growled, fury creeping in. "You put everything at risk." The tension grew unbearable, electrifying the air. The walls felt like they were closing in as Samantha's heart raced faster than ever. "You can't be serious. What's happening?" she stammered, torn between anger and joy. Before her mother could reply, a loud crack echoed from the hallway. Panic washed over everyone as shadows moved rapidly toward them, a swarm of armed agents barreling forward. "Cover!" Daniel yelled, pushing Samantha and Miguel behind him. The room erupted into chaos. Dust settled as the tension broke like a storm above them. Shouts rang out, feet scuffled on the floor, and in that whirlpool of fear, something unexpected happened. Her mother suddenly lunged forward, her expression fierce. "No!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the clamour. In a heartbeat, she snatched the device from Laura's hands. "Stop! That's not what you think!" Laura screamed, her expression flipping to one of desperation. But her mother didn't hesitate. "You don't understand what you're playing with!" The device began to glow, pulsing ominously. Samantha felt a gesture of dread unfurl inside her. "Mom, what are you doing?" And then it happened. An explosion of light, and the air crackled with energy. As everything dissolved into a blinding flash, a piercing whirlwind of noise engulfed her senses. The world spun wildly around her, consumed by fear and confusion. When the light finally receded, Samantha squinted against the brightness, blinking through the smoke. What she saw next knocked the breath from her lungs. Before her stood not just her mother, but another figure emerging from the shadows. This one, almost identical to her mother, bore the same fierce eyes and determined expression. "You didn't think I was gone, did you?" The stranger's voice slipped through the spellbound silence, clear and sharp. "Samantha, meet your twin," her mother said, the words slicing through Samantha's heart. "You both have a role to play. It's not just the drive that's at stake, it's you!" The revelation crashed over her like waves in a tempest. "This can't be happening! I don't understand!" she cried, the ground dropping from beneath her. Confusion tangled with betrayal in the air thick as fog. "Enough games!" the agency head spat. But the shadow of shock fell over him as well. "You can't be serious!" Samantha felt everything unraveling. Reasons, histories, and ties began to collapse in her mind like a deck of cards. Everyone had kept secrets. Her mother, her past, and her supposed twin. What did it all mean? As murmurs of disbelief flickered through the crowd, she grasped the locket once more, feeling the weight of family, deception, and identity all wrapped into one heavy burden. The tension in the room tightened like a noose. Her head spun. "You're saying I have a sister? Why didn't I know?" "Because we thought it was best to keep you safe," her mother's twin replied coldly. And the hatred in her eyes was palpable. And just like that, everything shifted. The cracks in their lives widened, ready to swallow them whole. What lay ahead began to form a dark shadow. With a looming storm above, Samantha braced herself. All she could think was, where do I go from here? As the dust swirled, the weight of truth bore down on her like a pendulum. Would she finally rise, or fall into the depths of this dangerous game? Samantha felt the whirlwind of emotions swirl in her chest, the chaos all around her fading to a dull hum. Her mother stood before her, radiating a mix of power and compassion. It was clear They needed answers, and fast. "Tell me everything," Samantha demanded, each word charged with urgency. Behind her, Daniel and Miguel exchanged glances while Laura's expression melted from malice to caution, as if she realized the gravity of the moment. Her mother took a deep breath, steadying herself. "The drive is not just data, Samantha. It holds information about an organization that has been lying to you. It connects us all. Your father, your sister, even Laura. They've used our family for their games for too long." Samantha's heart raced, comprehension dawning. "So, Laura is part of this?" she asked, trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "Not just part," her mother replied, her eyes fierce. "She was chosen to keep an eye on you. You can't trust anyone." Laura's face fell, the anger replaced by a flicker of regret. I didn't want it to be like this." But before Samantha could respond, the agency head stepped forward, eyes burning with desperation. "Enough of this family drama. You think you can take me down with your little revelations? This is bigger than you. It's about control." With a swift motion, he lunged for the device again. But Samantha's mother stepped in front, her face set in determination. "You won't destroy this family again," she shouted, defiance sparking in her eyes. Samantha's instincts kicked in. She had to act. "Back away from them!" she screamed, taking a step toward the fray. Fear wrapped around her throat, but she pushed it down, summoning courage. The tension crackled like electricity. Daniel was by her side, ready to fight. "Together!" he urged, his voice firm. And just like that, they all charged forward, the room erupting into a cacophony of shouts and struggles. But Samantha felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. They could end this. In a whirlwind of chaotic motions, Samantha dove toward the device, hands shaking but steady. Just as she reached it, Laura grabbed her wrist. "Please, Samantha, you don't want to do this." But Samantha's resolve held strong. "And you don't get to dictate my choices anymore." With a determined twist, she freed herself and slammed the device against the ground, shattering its sinister hold. The room erupted in a blinding flash, the shockwave casting everyone back. Smoke filled the air again. Samantha blinked through the haze, breathless. As the chaos settled, she turned to see her mother and sister, standing firm, unyielding. Laura stammered, eyes wide with realization. "I was wrong. I should have believed in you." Samantha locked eyes with Laura, seeing the fear and regret flow through the haze. "You could have helped us instead of tearing us apart." Before anyone could respond, the agency head scrambled to his feet, his voice laced with fury. "This isn't over! You think you've won? Not if we keep fighting!" Daniel called out, positioning himself protectively in front of Samantha. The room shifted, an undeniable wave of unity washing over them. With her mother and twin at her side, Samantha finally felt grounded. Her father stepped toward them, arms wide in a peace signal. "We need to leave," he urged, voice thick with urgency. "This isn't safe." They moved as one, pushing past the rubble of betrayal, leaving the darkness behind. As they stepped outside, fresh air filled their lungs, hope igniting brighter than the chaos they had just left. With every step, they embraced the uncertainty of the future together. But as they gathered on the street, Samantha couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. She turned to her family, her heart full yet heavy. The world unseen awaited them, shadowy and dangerous. Suddenly, a nearby explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the air, rattling the streets. Samantha looked back, dread tightening in her chest. The game was far from over. And so, with her family beside her, a silent promise formed. This fight was only starting. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next explosive story. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear your thoughts. So flood the comments with "Yo!"